Schlingit Kusti. Sorry, let me get this right. Yes, Schlingit Kusti Dancers Association. Schlingit Kusti means Schlingit way of life. It's an Alaskan clan. They're going to start us off.
Wasayati, Sakai Hadu Sam, Chukanadi Nahatsati. Well, like you said, like Miguel said, we're the Schlingit Kusti dancers there. And what we're going to do is open up this ceremony with a song, and then they're going to go into the rest of the program. The song that we're going to honor today is the dedication of this garden space that you have here, which you did a beautiful job on this, and it's commend you for all the work that's been gone into this. The song we're going to sing is a very appropriate song since we're here in on the grounds of this library here. It's Suhede, which is opening up the box of wisdom. There's a period of time where that box of wisdom for the people in Alaska, Canada, and around here, where potlatching was outlawed. The native people in this areas in the Northwest weren't allowed to practice and do the things that was a part of their way of life. And now that box of wisdom has been reopened. And so the native people thirst and hunger after their way of life just like any other people in their culture. So we're going to go ahead and use this song in symbolic with the library that we have here, which we open up this box of wisdom that we have here. Granddaughter here, she's going to go ahead and start off this song, and then the rest of the group will join in. Warm applause. We're now going to turn this back over to the MC here, and he's going to, I think there's some real nice speeches coming up for you to listen to.
And more dancing.
And more dancing after that's done. We're going to do 3 or 4, maybe 5 songs, even depends on how much time we've got left. We've got altogether probably about, I'd say 30 songs that we know, so we're going to think some of them that are appropriate for this and show you some more of our culture when you're through. Ms. Chish, thank you very much.
And the box of wisdom, I think, is a great metaphor for what this is. And we thank you guys for your wisdom and sharing that with us. So anyway, as I said, this is Ed Doolittle's place. And most of you probably walked through that door back there. This is the first time that door's been opened for the public use, and it's probably the last time. But this is something that Ed really wanted. He really wanted this to be a community garden, and unfortunately we can't keep the door open because it's a fire exit and the fire marshal won't let it happen, but we do want people to come around the back of the library and use this place just to socialize, to learn. The pieces we have in here now really are a variety of themes, all Northwest, but within that there's a variety of themes. Nature, you see Fish Boy, which shows the child wrapped around a fish, just the beauty of life, that's back there. We have a Dudley Carter, who he was a famous sculptor who lived 50 years in Redmond, and he does a lot of work with birds and other animals. We've got Dean Frederickson, who's done so much for our library. We commissioned the Dudley, the Salmon Rising, which is a beautiful salmon sculpture that represents so much of what Redmond is. And then we have all these great authors looking over this beauty. And I think Ed is probably looking over this as well. And I think he's really, it was his inspiration that really led us to develop the garden. He wanted this, and I think it's going to be here for a long time. So what I wanted to do is invite a few people to say a few words, and I'd start with Mayor, because Ed was served on the library board as well as the Friends of the Library, and the library board is the liaison with the city. And the mayor, as she makes her way up, she has this slogan that I've taken to heart, and that's, together we create a community of good neighbors. And I think that's what this is. They're trying to be community, and I think Ed was probably one of our best neighbors.
That's right. Good afternoon, I'm Rosemary Ives, the mayor of Redmond. Welcome to downtown Redmond, and welcome to the municipal campus, and welcome to a very, very special event. Miguel stole part of my speech. For those that know me, I seldom go to a community event where I don't get up and remind all of us, starting with myself, that we have a vision statement of together we create a community of good neighbors. Whole system, Louise, we've been blessed with as the chief librarian here, but also to her predecessors. And because Ed Doolittle went back a long time. I mean, he had a vision, and it's interesting. This is my 4th event of the weekend as mayor, and it's been so easy for me to go and speak because every event that I went to was about people, individuals, maybe one individual initially, having a dream or a great vision, and how that person or persons brought other people into the circle of that dream and that vision. And Ed was right there from the beginning. I can remember he was such a gentleman, such a diplomat very often, and not only just his service on the library board. I mean, you'll hear testimonies, those of you that knew him, what a great individual he was, and how humble he was. I remember sort of finding out about his resume and thinking, oh, I'm sitting in the same room with this guy, because he was very, very modest. But
somebody who's also been very critical to our success, and that's Doe Starr. She's around here somewhere. Eventually hopefully you get to meet all the artists. There's Doe. And Dean, again, I'll have to introduce him later, but Doe has done a great job with Spindle World behind here, and we've also commissioned a piece, well, she's already done a piece that's going to be hanging inside the library, we hope, pretty soon. So even though this is a temporary piece, we have a permanent piece for our collection, and you'll see new pieces coming in and out year to year. So make sure you stop by at least once a year. Next, I'd like to ask Bill Potasek to say a few words. Bill's the director of the King County Library System, and knew Ed probably longer than most of us, I would think.
Oh, thank you, Miguel. Hi, Del. Good to see you. Great to be here. I want to acknowledge, I don't know, will you have a chance, Jim, you have a chance to come up for a minute. Jim Grayson, the chair of the library board, is here. Jim. Hi there. And you've already met Louise Blaine, our manager of the library, and Denise Cyrus, who's our associate director representing the library system. So I want to acknowledge those folks and everybody that works in the library. I want to be real brief, but I want to say something about Ed, because I did know Ed for a long time, and I had the chance to work with Ed. You know, he was involved with libraries in Bellevue, with libraries in Redmond. He also was a great bridge player too, by the way. I want to tell you that. I knew him firsthand. But the thing about Ed that I will remember, and I think it's appropriate to today, is that he gave in so many different ways his talents and his abilities. If we needed legal expertise, you know, he had advice. If we needed finance or management expertise, he gave advice. If the friends needed to know how to promote something like a bond issue or whatever, he gave advice. If we had negotiations with the city, he used his position with the city to help with that. His love for poetry in many ways spurred on some of the programs that we've done here at the Redmond Library throughout the King County Library system. And I wanted, at the board meeting, we were talking about this, the King County board meeting last week. We were talking about Ed and the fact that he was so good at coming to budget meetings and to really participating in what making the King County Library System, I think, one of the greatest library systems in the whole United States. So I think it's very appropriate that the diversity of this sculpture garden, I mean, the shows are going to change, the pieces will change, but it will all be part of the diversity that I think is so symbolic of Ed's gifts to the library and to the community and to all of us. So thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon.
Just a couple more speakers. So I want to ask Louise to say a few words. Louise is our managing librarian, and she had the fortune of working with Ed at 2 levels, not just with the Friends, which is with the group I'm with, but with the library board. So she got to work with Ed twice as much as we did.
You've stolen half my speech. I'd like to add my welcome to everyone who has joined us this afternoon. I don't think I will ever look out the windows from the periodical area of the library again without thinking of Ed. I can think of no better tribute to Ed and what he has meant to this community than the establishment of this garden, and I hope you will all think of Ed every time you come to the Redmond Library also. Thank you for joining us today.
After all those wonderful things, I'm overwhelmed. Ed would be too. But I do have to let you know that he came home after meetings just like any other ordinary man. He was hungry. He would tell me about the meetings, and I won't tell you what he often said. But I can't think of a better place for him to have invested his retirement years than at a library where his heart always was from the time he was a kid. He loved libraries. He taught our children to love libraries. Carting books around just came as second nature. So thank you all for giving us, the family, the Doolittle family, this wonderful place to come and be with Ed again in this sense. Thank you.
Thanks, and then maybe have the artists who are here quickly talk about their pieces and then get back to the dancing. So I need to thank the city at 2 levels. The city tourism program has put in some money to purchase artwork for this garden, so we're very thankful to them. The City Arts Commission is the one that agreed to bring in 2 pieces on a temporary basis as part of their larger exhibit, which is down the street. To say a couple of things maybe about your pieces briefly, and then you didn't bring your trip, did you? Oh, it's in the car though? Okay. So she'll bring that out later, but maybe tell us why you'd like your piece for this library.
My name is Joe Starr. My Tlingit name is Tsakauk. I am adopted eagle of the killer whale from Tlingit clan in southeast Alaska. I am the mother of a Native child. I serve on the Native Education Committee, parent committee for the Native Education Program on the East Side, and participate at every opportunity in furthering the understanding and appreciation, the contribution that Native culture makes to our own and vice versa. I chose to bring out a piece for this location which would draw you in with a little bit of imagery that's easy to read, and a little more that's a little harder to read, and a little harder to read. So someday, I hope you'll learn to read it. The spindle whorl is a tool that was used for twisting the fibers of mountain sheep wool to write the history and the treaties and the love of the culture into cloth. For a culture that didn't have a written language, this is the way they recorded the ideas, the stories, the descent of the clan leaders. Jack Strum and several others are wearing objects in their regalia that are made in that chilkat weaving style, which is an example of the work that is created by those who would employ a spindle whorl culture. And it is a tremendously valuable object to wear. And they're passed down for generation and generation. The symbols that would traditionally be carved into a spindle whorl would identify the clan of the weaver, and frequently that tool would be passed down from mother to daughter for many generations. And although it may have started out a beautiful white alder or maple, it would grow black from the oils of the hands through the ages and have a dull gloss to it. Okay. I used the image of a woman paddling a canoe alone. She represents the human spirit of the killer whale. I was inspired by the story of Springer, the little killer whale who's been playing around out in the waters out here, getting a little confused about whether it's a human being or a killer whale. And I felt like that intimacy of the relationship between the human beings and the killer whales is something we must not ignore, and might not be such a good thing to promote, but we can enjoy it anyway. The rest of the form is covered with the form line elements of a distributive design of a killer whale. The faces that are carved into the more upright section represent they're inspired by the figures that you'll frequently see on the very old totem poles that are called the watchmen, the small figures that protrude at the very top of a totem pole. And those are the watchmen of this piece. And they also represent the masks of the blowhole spirit, because the blowhole is the very, very most sacred part of the killer whale. Nothing like having a beautiful silent day suddenly shattered by the sound of breath, right? One oar's breadth off of your kayak. It'll get your attention. I chose to do it in the flat form in the clay in relief like that because that's similar to how the images would have been carved in wood. And then to half bury it in the sand, because as a long-time potter, the focus of my artwork has been to make pieces that people will touch and use, that there is no boundary between
fly with you.